We are X Overland, and over the past 10 years, my wife and I have established a business doing what we love. Throughout the last 10 years, we have built over 20 overland vehicles that have taken us and our team around the world as we film our adventures. My name is Clay Croft, and I am the founder and CEO of X Overland. On this podcast, we take a deep dive beyond what the camera can capture to offer you as much insight into the world of overland travel as possible. The X Overland podcast is brought to you by OnX Off-Road. To find the special places we're seeking at X Overland, that next level trail, or that once-in-a-lifetime campsite, we often find ourselves far beyond the grid. With fully functional GPS capability, even when outside the range of cell phone coverage, OnX allows us to get off the grid and confidently continue on our journey. Use the code XOverland to get 20% off your subscription today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to X Overland's Prologue podcast. We're setting up episode 0 here so that you can get a base understanding of who we are, why we are saying the things we're saying, based off of our previous experiences up until now. And today I have my beautiful wife, Rachelle, with me, and we have the beautiful Jimmy Lewis, who is our content director. Rachelle. So the three of us will be doing a bunch of the hosting and talking to a bunch of people over the course of the podcast through the years ahead, I'm sure. And but for today, we are just going to give a quick outline, try to keep this podcast short to get you up to speed on everything XO over the last pretty much 12 years, maybe a little bit before that, and up until where we are today. So shall we begin with inception?
We shall. I think we need to go all the way back to that time.
Okay. Inception was in 2010 of Expedition Overland. Mm-hmm. I was with Rachelle's father, my father-in-law, and we took our first 10-day trip down to Moab, Utah. Hadn't been on a big trip like that before. I'd learned a little bit about what overlanding was. I'd read some overland journal, etc. We can get into that later, but basically got hooked on this 10-day trip. And by that Christmas, that was in the summer, and by that Christmas, we were like, you know what, we should try and shoot a show on this. And that's where Inception came from, right there at the end of 2010. We decided we wanted to travel the world and see the world, and not just, we loved camping and we loved touring and we love all that, but we wanted to go big time. And I would say that one of the big inspirations was Ewan McGregor's Long Way Round, Charlie Borman's, you know, the motorcycle diary of them going around the world. I remember watching that in the garage. I'd been inspired, etc. And then fast forward, we kind of started our own show and doing it ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of factors involved in that decision. You had come from a film background. You'd gotten into film in college. We had started a small film company called Highline Productions, which we still use to this day. And so you started out shooting wedding videos, commercials around town, and we gotten to the point, we had 3 young kids. I was pregnant with Eli, our 3rd son, and the recession hit. We were kind of, how are we going to pay these bills? What are we going to do? And it was that night you were in the garage and you saw those 2 Toyotas and we just watched Long Way Round, and you're like, hey, we got the camera, we have the equipment. We kind of maybe have an idea of how to do this, not fully understanding what we were getting into at the time. And we're like, what if we did a show on overlanding? You just learned about this new thing. And so that was the initial inception to X Overland and how we started.
Yep. Then we took another quick trip down to Moab to shoot like a pilot series. Back in the day, it was YouTube wasn't really a thing yet. You could only have 2-minute videos on YouTube at the time. So it was all Vimeo, and it's really television based. We were kind of working in the television world already. So we were like, well, this is how you do it. You got to go shoot a pilot. You got to show like a sizzle reel. You got to go show it. You got to get somebody to sign off on it. And then once you get some interest from somebody, then you go for it. They'll either give you money and you go shoot your show. But now, I mean, and we just have always rode the wave of YouTube coming online. Then it went from 2 minutes to 10 minutes, and then they finally opened it up to full whatever you wanted. And then let's see, that's with that tech coming available, we just kind of stayed in control of it the whole time. And we had decided through past experiences that we if we can maintain control over the content and not have to sell it to Discovery or somebody or whoever it is, it's going to be better for us, because we had previous experience with these other networks and stuff, and they're like, okay, if they own it, they control it, they'll tell you to fight, they'll tell you to this, we want more drama, they steer the ship. And we were just like, yeah, there's enough drama in the world right now, and TV's garbage, so we should shoot what we think we should shoot, and it's going to be a long haul road, but it'll be worth it, because we'll stay true to ourselves because of it. And so we did.
Well, listening to the two of you here as we launched a podcast, the we component of the beginning of XO, it stands out so much. And I think it's so important and fundamental to your story. And here we are 12, 13 years later, and the we is still together and functioning and working to build XO into something even greater. So that is amazing to be a witness to, as a fan and now as somebody who works here at X Overland. So awesome. The other thing too, I'm thinking, Clay, is what you were mentioning about, keeping the content your own is fundamental to what we do. And so I think addressing our pillars of content and why we weren't willing to go with the overly dramatized television series and things of that nature, which there's plenty of that.
There's too much of that. So the pillars of our business and what we try to shoot are always in the vein of authenticity. We want to be as authentic as possible, but tell a good story too. You can bore your audience and the people watching your stuff with all the fine details and the minutia of facts. So we still want to tell a good story, and that revolves around inspiration, education, and entertainment. If we can inspire folks, cool, because we were inspired by other people. We want to, propagate that further, And then if we can entertain, it just makes it fun to watch. And then if you're learning something, if you're getting an aha moment out of it, and then it's actually adding value to your life. And we, Rachelle and I, and now the whole company, everybody involved at the company, which is around 10 full-time people here at Expedition Overland to do what we do, is really all about building as much impact as possible. And we're going to have to hold the line on some stuff that we believe in. That's okay. But we really want to build the most inclusive and impactful media company at the end of the day is what we are, to help people go and explore the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the foundations, as you mentioned, to when we started XO, is we wanted to create a show that was high quality. We wanted to be at that level of a show you would see on a major network. And so we always strove to create the absolute best content, shoot with the best equipment that we could afford, do the best job, go the extra mile to make it really beautiful content. And that's still what we strive for to this day. We're always trying to outdo ourselves over the last one.
I'm thinking right now, Rachelle, the awards, even that you mentioned this morning, right? Yeah. The LAFA Awards and the Vegas Awards, like our work is now critically acclaimed. So it just speaks to the integrity we've always had here at XO. The pillars of content remain the same. Our podcast is all about that. It's about entertaining people, educating people, and inspiring people, right, to get out there. And that's the impact we want to make on the world, is a positive one.
Absolutely.
And we believe we can do that through overlanding, and that's what we're doing.
Indeed. So in order to be authentic, we obviously wanted to travel the world and get into expeditions and global trips. So that's what kicked off and has been the backbone of all of the stories that we tell. And that's what has shaped all of our content, is the trips that we've planned to do. So I thought we'd get into that a little bit.
Let's do it.
We did first, we call it Season 0 in North America. We did 6 episodes where we kind of just ran around local, got close around local as in like the United States, and tipped our toe into Canada. And at the end of those episodes, we were like, oh, we got to do something bigger. So we set our sights on doing a big trip into Alaska, which is a lot of people's first ambition to go and see on a big trip. It was ours as well. Yep. So then we fundraised for that and went and shot in 2013 the Alaska Yukon series, Season 1. Yep. And then when we were there, we got the bug that was like, hey, maybe we could travel the Pan American.
Yeah.
We learned about what that is. And so let's zip up to the top of Prudhoe Bay and start at least that storyline that maybe just one day we'd be able to complete the Pan American, which seemed
it seemed such a far
impossible
reach.
Yeah, it was beyond our wildest dream that we would be able to do that, but we kept working towards it. And by 2015, we partnered with General Tire and Toyota and obviously others. And we got the Central America season put together. And that was Baja, Mexico, all the way to Panama to the Darien Gap.
Yep.
And that is a tremendous series, by the way, as a fan. Like Central and South America were just mind-blowing. So the whole Pan Am trilogy is phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Central America was the hardest so far trip for me. It was stretching, and I didn't necessarily have. I don't know. I was learning a lot of stuff at the time of filmmaking, international travel. Central America is not the easiest place to travel in. It has its own. Yeah. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
It's still awesome. Still wonderful to go down there. But we completed that. And then by 2016, we tried to go to South America. We lost our major funding. Mm-hmm. So we had to pivot. And that's when we did the Return to the McKinsey series. We went back up, followed Alexander McKinsey's trail in British Columbia, which we learned a lot from that too. There was like heavy trail logistics.
You learned a lot about fuel management.
Yeah, just being off grid for
trails,
2 weeks straight. And,
yep.
And then by 2017, we finally were able to partner with Toyota and General Tire again and get the South America expedition up and running, which was a massive undertaking to go from Colombia clear to Argentina at the very bottom and then back up to Buenos Aires.
We'd never shipped trucks before either. We hadn't shipped
trucks, so that was our first time putting vehicles on containers and roll on, roll off, and we did it in 2 phases.
Yep.
It was a lot.
It was a lot, and I want to speak to when you say, we some years we didn't have funding or we do have funding, and from day one when we started Expedition Overland, we started it as a business because we knew that if we wanted to sustain and go and be in it for the long haul to have the longevity, we had to somehow turn this into a business where we had income to pay for the film production, eventually pay the bills, pay the people on our trips. Everyone who's been on our trips has always been paid. And then we have to pay for the film production and editing time on the back end. So all of that, we have to spool all that up in the beginning of our year to get ready for the trips we want to take. And so some on those off years, that's why the Pan American took us that long. We did Alaska in 2013, Central America 15, South America 17. So we had those off years in there where it just took us longer to get all that funding in the door so we could make those big pushes.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point you're bringing up, Rachelle, as CFO of X Overland, too, I might add, right?
Yeah.
You're speaking to that, Clay being CEO. And now it's clear like how XO has been able to sustain itself. Mm-hmm. And it's clear to us, right? But I think it's important for our listeners to also understand the evolution of X Overland as a business. Mm-hmm. And that vision you had in the beginning, that if this is going to be sustainable, if we're going to do this the rest of our lives, or for as long as we want to continue to do it, it has to be a business model that works. And I've seen that here very clearly and learned a lot about that. And I think there are still people who don't fully understand what it is to build those relationships with business partners so we can continue to do this. But we are totally transparent about that and how we operate and what we share with our fans. And that is something that drew me here to X Overland is that attitude and transparency toward everything we do.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We love our partners. We work with amazing companies, and we strove to go for the best companies that we would want, the gear that we trust, to be on our trucks for 6 weeks in the middle of South America where we can't go down to the store and buy a part. You have to have gear that will sustain that. And we went for the top, and that's how we approach that is we love this gear. We love this product. We believe in it. Would you want to work with us?
And we say no to a lot of stuff.
We do.
We get a lot of offers and people that want to work with us, and we say no to a lot. because we only work with what we think is appropriate for us and what we do. So our authenticity is never compromised. Plus, we don't have any time to waste with something that's potentially inferior or a distraction.
And something that could truly jeopardize the expedition because of the lack of quality. And that's a place where I want to put in a word for Toyota on that. And you mentioned Long Way Round being an original inspiration. I can relate to that. It was the same for me in getting into adventure motorcycling. But I remember distinctly in that series when they were trying to negotiate with partners, and one of the partners flat thought they would fail and weren't willing to risk putting their machines to the test and doing what they were trying to do. Toyota came to the plate. You had an extreme vision of what you wanted to accomplish. They put their product out there and it's performed flawlessly. Yep. So I'm very excited that we work with Toyota and looking forward to what we're going to do with them in the future.
Me too. And
absolutely.
To be clear, that relationship, we bought all of our trucks for the first 7 years of our, we didn't have a relationship with Toyota for 7 years. They watched us from a distance. I learned that later after we, got into discussions with them, and they're like, yeah, we've been watching you for a while. Toyota is consistently a conservative company, so they make calculated moves. And, we haven't always been funded by them. They've come and gone, but the partnership has always been there, and the support has always been there. Yeah. And what you're saying, speaking towards like Long Way Round, when one of the companies didn't support them, we run into that too. It's like you want people that believe in you and know that you can do it. Yeah. And then we have to deliver. But if there's any hesitancy within the company, if you're worth anything or this or that, or you're going to be able to complete it, it's already a no.
Yeah. Or if they try to dictate how you should film or what you should say,
it's a no.
It's a no on our end.
Yeah. So kudos to the companies who do get behind us and what we want to do.
We work with great people.
Yeah.
So moving back to the podcast, what do we hope to accomplish here? What's our vision for the X Overland podcast?
Yeah. Well, bringing it back around to just that global travel, we wanted to bring people kind of up to speed if they've never seen anything we've done or know of who we are, what we do. We completed the Pan American Highway all by overland style. So we are self-sufficient, contained out of our vehicles for all of those trips, as well as film production crew. So we do all of it. So the people you see on the series, that's all there is. We don't have an extra camera crew following us in the back.
It's us.
It's us.
Self-sustained
in every way.
And that's extraordinary.
Even down to the film production.
That's extraordinarily.
So we've had those locations under our belt. Clay's done some trips with E7 Expedition 7 through Russia. He's actually crossed Greenland north to south.
Yeah, we
with
did.
them.
The E7 team being a part of the E7 expeditions was a major builder. This is outside of Expedition Overland.
Yeah.
Russia, the Road of Bones, South America, Central America. And then in 2018, we crossed the Greenland ice sheet from south to north for the first time in history on a 21-day expedition there in Greenland. And then you've done a bunch of stuff too, rally racing. You did your first Morocco, the Rally Asia des Gazelles. What year was that?
2012.
In 2012.
Right when we were starting out.
And then you eventually did that 3 times.
I did.
Then came back and did... that's in Morocco, and then you came back and was part of the first Rebelle Rally ever.
Yep, 2016, the inaugural Rebelle Rally.
And then was it in
2019?
19, you came back.
Yep.
Raced or rallied with Lexus. And won it. Yes. So
that was a fun one.
And then last year you hosted it. You were the live host of the Rebelle Rally. So we are, even though we do Expedition Overland, that's like 105% of our time. With the other remaining 120% of our time, we have other extracurricular activities that we do too that help us shape who we are and give us better insights and fuel our own needs for adventure.
What really is important here to look at, I think, is how your credentials have come through an organic, hardworking evolution of knowledge, skills, pushing your own personal boundaries, working together as a couple. And then that sets us apart too, I believe, in the media space of overlanding for some people.
Sure.
Is that, we have gotten to the place to where we are launching this podcast through a lot of hard work and a lot of skill, knowledge, development. And that's why we're in a good place to speak to a lot of things overlanding, I believe.
Yeah. So I think you hear us to that point, as you hear us make statements, this is where we're coming from. And this is why we really wanted to have this prologue episode to give that foundation. Now, are we going to be right all the time? No. A lot of this stuff is our opinion. It's based off of our experience. So, take it for what it is. But it's from our experience that we're speaking from.
Yeah.
And we like to forge around here. There's a statement that comes up like, we're doing and saying things one way today, but tomorrow we may not be saying those same things in the same way because we found a better way to do it, and we will address it then. If we find better ways to speak towards something, if there's a better method of doing something, we will change our ways and speak toward it. As part of us just forging and becoming better and better at what we do, and we'll relay that through the podcast. It's actually one of the better ways to do that because of the conversational element of podcasts and how fast you can kick content out.
That's what I think is the purpose when we look at the vision for our podcast. For our fans, it's a place to join in on conversations and experience insights that are impossible in other forms of media. So it's a unique form of media that we're getting into now, and at a place in XO's development when we're really ready, eager, I would say, to speak to a variety of different topics and then to share our growth as we move forward from here.
Absolutely. And I'll comment on one more pillar that's really critical to at least our internal business, and that's that everyone remains teachable. We are always learning. We do not have all the answers, to reiterate. We have a lot of experience and we have skills that we've learned, but we have learned from great people in this field as well, like Scott Brady of Overland Journal. He's been one of our mentors and cheerleaders from the very beginning. And you have Paul May of Equipped, and you have Mario Donovan. You have these amazing people. He's with AT Overland who came with us as we were starting as the young bucks in the space. We were in our 20s and came around us and just cheerleaded us the whole way. And so I have to give credit to all those people that have helped us along the way, and we are eager to continue to learn and be teachable in this space.
Yeah, Rachelle, and I would say like something we're doing here with our podcast is helping people into the overlanding space. There might be a lot of people who, kind of following the zeitgeist of this over the last decade or more, are getting into overlanding now. They're wondering about a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
And the podcast is a place to bring them into the community and introduce them to people like Brady and Overland Journal and the whole world of overlanding that we've been a part of now for years.
Yeah.
Which is a wonderful community, right?
It's the best community.
It's
awesome. I'm biased, but it's awesome.
Cool. Well, then past that, let's see. We've got
truck builds are a big part of our business.
Yep.
We'll
be talking a lot about that in the future podcast coming up. We're working on some brand new ones right now, and big missions ahead. And our vision for Expedition Overland going forward is to travel the world, to go see the world, and continue to use our trucks to experience all the cool nooks and crannies of this planet, and hopefully learn a thing or two about those places and ourselves.
Yeah. And keep inspiring people to go do the same.
Yeah.
Right. To travel the world, learn about themselves. I would say that's another pillar of what we do at X Overland is beyond the external world of nuts and bolts and trucks. We also get into that internal space that overlanding reaches in people. And we look at how we grow as individuals, as couples, through the experience of overlanding. And this is an exciting space to podcast, to talk about those aspects of overlanding.
Yeah. This podcast is not going to just only be nuts and bolts and hardware and what tire's best and what light bar is brighter. Those are all cool things, but we're going to be talking a lot more broader than that. We will get into that stuff from time to time, but yeah, it's big picture overlanding, which is what I get the most excited to talk about and to teach or help people inspire, because at the end of the day, whatever tire you're on, at least you're on a tire out there doing something. I would hope that you're inspired to get to that state where you're out and about somewhere doing something.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the end, we're hoping this podcast creates impact. That's just exactly what we hope it does for you. If you like what you experience here, please subscribe, rate, and review us. We'd really appreciate that as we get started. All of your support helps, and we will see you on our first episode.
Coming right up. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps. We appreciate your support. And until next time, stay adventurous.